Hey everybody, it's Commander Clyde. Welcome back to another patch notes review. It feels like it's been a long time since we've done one of these. But we're here today for the Love and War update. So let's get right into this one. New Babylonian god, of course, Ishtar. The goddess of love and war. Here's all the stuff down here. There is going to be I am going to do a reaction to the reveal. So, which is probably going to be out before this anyway, but yeah, so we'll get to see this in a little bit more detail in that, but of course we'll read through this here with her passive, Mark of Vengeance. When Ishtar drops below 75% health, she marks the enemy god with most recently damaged her for 10 seconds. Each time Ishtar deals damage to the marked god with a basic attack, she gains a stacking attack speed buff. If Ishtar receives a kill or assist on the marked god, she gains a movement speed buff. This passive has a 20-second cooldown. Attack speed buff 5% for 4 seconds. Max stacks 4. Movement speed buff 20% for 5 seconds. Imbue arrows. Ishtar imbues her arrows with heavenly light, enhancing her basic attack in one of 3 ways for 5 seconds. The 3 varieties include strike shot, a lobbed explosive arrow, spread shot, a volley of 5 arrows, and storm shot, a fast-paced long-range snipe. Ishtar cannot hit structures during the duration, which is 5 seconds, costs 60 to 80 mana, 9-second cooldown. And then of course here are the 3 types. Strike shot. Ishtar lobs bolts that explode in an area, dealing damage. These shots may also be fired over walls. Bonus damage 8 up to 30. I think that's just flat bonus damage. Not certain if that can be mitigated. We'll see how that works. And of course it has a crit damage reduction of 40%. So your critical hits while using strike shot will be 40% less powerful. And here we go with number 2, spread shot. Ishtar notches additional light arrows and fires 5 shots in a cone. Only the center arrow triggers basic attack item effects. Center damage is 100% of your basic attack damage, so it should just be the same amount of damage. I don't think that's like additional damage. And damage on the sides is 5 up to 10% of your basic attack damage. Although reading that makes it sound like it's additional damage. Not certain how that works. Anyway, continuing on, storm shot. Ishtar enhances her attack speed and fires quick long-range shots that deal reduced damage. Attack speed is 20 up to 40%. Projectile speed is 120% faster than normal, and the damage reduction on that is 20%. Alright, moving on to more abilities. It's going to be her 2 here. Ishtar calls down 4 strikes of lightning in a line, damaging enemies within their area. Ishtar may aim which direction the strikes travel. If an enemy is hit by more than 1 strike, they are mesmerized. Strike damage is 40 up to 120 plus 40%. Mez is 0.75 seconds, costs 55 to 75 mana with a 15-second cooldown. And I believe this is per hit damage. So if you can hit multiple, this is quite a bit of damage. Anyway, next one is Jolt. Ishtar draws her blades, I think I meant to say blades, and charges forward, striking all enemies in her path. If she hits an enemy god, she stops and roots them for 1 second as she backflips off of them. As Ishtar is in the air, she fires her bow, dealing damage in an area around the affected god. This shot may crit and trigger basic attack item effects. Charge damage is 80 up to 40 plus 60% of your physical power. And then the arrow damage is 20 to 60 plus 110% of your physical basic attack power. Root is 1 second, costs 60, 15-second cooldown. And the ultimate, Blades of Retribution, Ishtar becomes CC immune and summons 5 swords of light, firing them out in a cone in front of her. Each sword damages and cripples enemies for 1.25 seconds. When the swords reach their destination, Ishtar may recall them to her location within 3 seconds. If an enemy is hit by both the initial fire and the recall, they are stunned for 1 second. Each sword hit after the first deals reduced damage, resetting before recalling. And sword damage is 80 up to 160 plus 45% of your physical power. That is per hit. Damage reduction is 30% per sword, up to 80%. Cripple 1.25 seconds, stun 1 second, cost 100 mana, and 90-second cooldown. This one is pretty interesting. This isn't a long-range ultimate. I don't think typically a hunter would have a lot of range on an ultimate. But Ishtar seems to be more inclined to fight than some other hunters. Of course, having the CC immunity for the duration, that's really good value. And then the cripple and the stun if you hit both. This is a pretty big value ultimate, because you're getting a lot if you hit everything. Let's move on. Here's a bunch of skins. We got the Hunbot skin finally. Black Eye's hard work finally paid off. For us to get this skin frightens me deeply. And then here's all the whatever. You know how we are here. We don't sit here and look at skins. Okay, there's the update release schedule. August 23rd is the new update. She will be here in the Tier 5 Hades skin. Of course, new Odyssey event, and then the bonus update will be September 6th. And then Soaring Isles, you get Chibi Land, and here's all the stuff you can get. Oh, you have to find all the stuff to unlock Chibi Land. Oh boy. But yeah, you get all this stuff from that event. Then a community celebration calendar. How it works: for 2 weeks, simply log in and play one game of SMITE each day to earn your reward. Oops, well, I guess I'm not getting that. Earn at least 6 of these rewards and you will unlock the Dapper Baron Samity skin. And then you get other rewards. Here's some community jump stamps. Here's some avatars and then global emotes. And my friend Lycoy got himself an emote in the game. That's very nice. I'm proud of him for being able to step up his art game and get some stuff into the game here. Alright, of course, Smite Night is back, and I don't care about this. Here's god avatars you can get for playing the god, being allied against the god, or against the god a total of 3 times. You can get all these that way. Favor prices for 2 chests now, Voice Pack chest and Odyssey Soaring Idols cosmetic. With the new update be available, and then more direct purchase. Skins, here's a ton of bugs that I'm not gonna read because it's a lot of bugs. Look at the ranked bug here, because this is important. Fixed an issue where after promoting Masters, players couldn't duo queue with the same partner. Then their MR range till they played 1 game in Masters. Okay. Conquest fixed an issue where the Obelisk mana chalices were providing unintended mana regeneration to teammates. Excuse me. Fixed an issue where the Sphinx Bauble was allowing unintended cooldown in cooldown-based MOTDs. And then here's all these bugs. There's too many. Too many. These aren't that important, though. Of course, we'll be going to balance game mode bounce. Duel will now use Jade Corruption map. And Joust will continue to use Season 3 Chinese Joust. I don't really know how this is better, but I don't think it really matters. I mean, bigger map, more things to do. But, you know, whatever, it's fine. I mean, I think a lot of people did prefer Jade Corruption for Duel. All starter items and all starter item upgrades will now be entirely banned. And it will no longer use non-conquest balance adjustment. Wow, it's going to be so much better. Totally is going to fix every problem with this mode. Wow. Everyone keep telling themselves that. This mode is never going to work right. And it's not because of balance. It's because God design does not allow you to be able to balance the game correctly in a pure 1v1 scenario. So, yeah. In Joust, all starter items will be re-enabled. And then supports are getting some help for the big gold discrepancy. And you can get all of these upgraded at level 15. Very nice. Getting Lodo's Mask early is that's pretty strong there, I think. Early Compassion's pretty strong. Early Sentinel Boon and very strong. Of course. But with these, you will have to be the lowest gold on your team in order to get bonus gold. So you could have a teammate that's farming really poorly and you may not get the gold bonus if you're the support, but hopefully that won't happen. We got earring stuff being adjusted here. Sphinx Bauble. Of all the changes in mid-season, Sphinx Bauble got the most discussion. Community feedback towards this item rapidly changed from overpowered and game-breaking to niche and undertuned. Ultimately, we agree that 60% CDR threshold is just too intense, especially when combined with other CDR cap dodging items like Chronos Pendant or Bumbus Hammer, so we will be leaving the item at that passive stat. Oh. Interesting. I didn't think about that. Getting Bumbus Hammer refresh or Chronos Pendant refresh. However, we are changing the stats and downside of this item to entirely remove the damage reduction, replacing it with prot reduction. This will make the item a more powerful choice for mages who want to trade off some stats for more CDR, and will make this item a heavier trade-off for tanks. We are taking the most cautious route for this item in the tree because of its ability to potentially warp the entire meta. We will continue to buff it as needed, but incrementally over time. Decrease physical power from 55 to 45, decrease magical power from 80 to 70. This item no longer has any damage output debuff. This item now decreases your magical and physical protections by 15%. This applies to all protections, including base items, aura, player buff, and jungle buff. And then here, Griffin Wing Earrings passive effect was generally undervalued by players. To better balance that out, we are removing the downside entirely. Building this item already comes at a significant cost in that you do not get another strong hunter item passive that is available to you. We are also buffing the magical power of this item to ensure it's a reasonable option for mage ADCs in addition to hunters. Increased magical power from 60 to 70. This item no longer has any damage output debuff. Very fun. Interesting that people started considering these overtuned. I didn't know if there were enough use cases for people to really be like, this item is undertuned. But it is a pretty niche thing, and you really only felt like you could build it on tanks. So that change is probably fair. And of course they're reducing the total power, so you can't get quite as much from it if you're a damage dealer. This one is interesting. They increase the magical power on it, I guess, to make mage ADCs have a little bit easier time fighting hunters. This is a weird item, though. I don't know. I think people just aren't building it because they'd rather just have other items. And that would be my thing with this item, is you're taking up a slot when you could be filling it with an item that gives you multiple stats and attacks, that gives you attack speed, power, crit, or whatever with this thing. Anyway, the other ones are getting some slight buffs because they have been used very little compared to the other two. It's of course a tier 2. Rose Spike increased health from 200 to 250, removed 15 HP 5, added 25 magical protection. Fabulous Hoops increased health from 300 to 350, removed 20 HP 5, added 10% CDR, added 60 magical protections. They want it to be better mage, better tank value, is what I'm guessing, because before this item was just pure health, pure HP 5. It has a passive that's okay, but this probably just makes it better, it just gives it better usage. And the Manticore Spikes getting similarly moved, removed 30 HP 5, removed 20% CTR, added 40 physical and magical protection, increased the duration of the self buff after pickup from 5 to 15 seconds, increased the damage dealt from 3 to 4% of your target's max HP, increased the damage dealt by the item owner from 6 to 8% of their max HP. So this is a lot of extra damage they've added to this thing. And this could make it pretty useful since it's 2 prot stats now. So you don't feel so bad picking it up and not really getting any other stats. I mean, 30 HP, 520 CCR, that's good, but like it didn't have anything else to really make it feel good to build as a support. And I tried this once in a joust game on Cabrakan, and I didn't really feel like it was doing anything. So probably good changes. Mages have slowly been working their way back into the meta, although hunters are still shadowing them in many ways, sometimes even in the mid lane. This update is bringing a few different changes to boost mage itemization across the board. First, flat pin items are seeing a cost decrease to make sure they can be effective in the early game. Next, Rada Tahutian and its upgrades is getting back some more magical power to help it better compete with the other top end mage items. As a treat, we're also making a small change to Polynomicon to make this fringe item a bit more powerful, although it would still be expected to remain as a fringe item. A Divine Ruin, 100 less gold, 100 less gold, 100 less gold on all these guys. And of course, Spear the Magus, I still think is a lot of value because this item does so many different things. Divine Ruin, that's usually an essential item, so I don't know about lowering the gold cost there. This is fine. These are okay, I guess. 15 more power. I don't know how I feel about that, considering these have got other passives, but you know, they had this at one point, buffed it to much higher than this, so it's probably a good balance. And of course, some additional things with Perfected Rod, though. This item's passive effect can now affect ultimate ability cooldown, and they decrease the passive internal cooldown from 10 to 8 seconds. And Polynomicon decreased the internal passive cooldown from 3 to 2 seconds. Another archetype that needs some help right now is the traditional ability-based assassin. Basic attack builds have proven to be especially powerful post 9.5 because of their sustained damage output. This same effect makes bursts less effective, so we are buffing physical power and passive effects across a variety of jungle items, including Bumba's Hammer. So yeah, you're seeing a lot of this stuff get buffed. Things get rolled back because anything that auto-attacked got a significant buff with the 9.5 changes, because consistent damage output in DPS ends up being better value when every target's got more health than they used to. And so abilities become overall less effective because you're not taking off as much health, or as high of a percentage of someone's health as you used to. So Bumba's Hammer can affect ultimate ability cooldowns again. They may revert that back. We'll see. I think people thought it was too strong. All of these items are getting 5 extra power. Titan's Bane's having its cost reduced by 100 and decrease the internal passive cooldown from 8 to 6 seconds. And they're doing moving things around with anti-heal. Just for the adjustment with the brawling mechanic, I guess. Because they did do a couple things with that recently. Shadow Steel Shuriken has increased attack speed from 20 to 25%, but it's decreased the healing debuff from 10 to 5 seconds. Tainted Seal having its cost decreased and decreased healing debuff from 6 to 5 seconds. These are going to be reduced to 5 seconds, but the physical protection has been increased by 10 on Tainted Breastplate, and the magical protection on Amulet has been increased by 10 as well. So items, this is good early because it's cheaper. This is slightly better late item, even though you're getting less healing debuff duration. A little bit stronger than they were. And some adjustments to the mass starters. First of all here, decreased physical power requirement from 325 to 275, from 65 to 55 per stack. This item now properly checks stacking items and item passives for power gain. This item no longer checks god abilities for power gain. Okay. That's a significant buff to that. It's 55 per stack, which the total power requirement to remove most of the negatives is. That's a pretty big change there. So that item is a lot stronger now. Lonos now provides 6 GP5, but only if you're lowest gold, which can happen because you buy this. But they've decreased the protection requirement to down from 60 to 55 per stack. This item now properly checks stacking items and item passes for protections. So this is significant here because I feel like the downsides on Lonos are actually, I think it feels a bit worse than Rain does, because with Rain does at least, yeah, you might be taking a lot more damage, but I mean, it makes it way easier for you to kill somebody. Lonos is a bit different because you're just tanky. This is just a survivability item. You know, and having too many of the negative stacks on it, of course, makes you kind of feel like a useless sitting duck, and you just sit there and aren't a threat to anybody. You're just really tanky. So this helps, but I don't know if this is a good idea, just because it's a lot easier to build a lot of protections than it is to build a lot of power. So I don't know if nerfing this, or if buffing that part of it was the best choice. But we'll see. I mean, this makes it a little bit easier to build on solo laners, because that was the biggest problem, I think, with it after it was changed. Was that the particular solo laners that like to build this also tend to like to have a little bit of power too. Like, you know, Baron and Robin are the most obvious textbook cases of Lonos Mass being used on a solo laner. And with Baron, you're usually going to have Warlock's Staff and potentially another item. With Robin, you're usually going to have Glad Shield and Soul Eater, which Soul Eater provides you no protection. Glad Shield provides you a little bit, but not nearly as much. There's a lot of other items. So that feels a little bit better. Anyway, Compassion GP5 now only applies if you have the lowest gold. This item's passive aura no longer stacks with other players using the same item. And then the same GP5 only if you're lowest gold on Sentinel's Embrace. Sentinel's Boom 15 bonus gold per assist now only applies if you are the lowest gold on your team. Pretty consistent. Nox is getting buffs to her power because she's a mage. Shadow Lock has increased base damage to minions from 70 to 230 to 80 to 260. And the magical damage scaling on minions has been increased from 50 to 60. And then non-conquest, plus 10 longer non-ultimate cooldown, plus 10% longer ultimate cooldown. Danis is getting some buffs because they continue to want to make this god easier for everybody to use because he's supposed to be hard. And he is, but most of Janice's issues come from a positioning thing, not anything intrinsic to the god himself. It's mostly that players don't know how to position correctly to use this god. But anyway, increased base physical protections on Janice from 11.2 to 14. Increased physical protections from 2.8 per level to 3. So he's a lot tankier to physical gods. And then 10 damage on Unstable Vortex at every rank. Okay. I don't know why. Raijin, increased base damage from 30 to 90 percussive storm to 35 to 95. And then total for all four is 120 to 360. Up to is now going to be 140 to 380 if you hit all of it. This little buff for that, I guess, make him more usable because he's not a god that's played that often. He used to be at the top of the meta, and now he's just like, eh. He's not around. Everyone wants to play something else, which is why I don't know why Thoth is getting buffed, because a lot of people do like to play Thoth still. You still see him a decent amount in ranked. He's not a pick ban, but he's usually a solid pick if you get him. But anyway, Dead Reckoning passive decreased the number of kills per stack from 30 to 20. That's for killing any enemy, I believe. So that includes minions, jungle camps. And then Final Judgment has had its damage increased from 360 to 640. Increased damage. Oh, they meant to say 2. They said from, 400 up to 640. So at lower ranks he gets a lot more. So 40 more, 30, 20, 10, and then no damage increase at the final rank. You just make it a little bit better early game. Scotty getting a slight buff to compete with the other high damage hunters like her. We're talking a Muzen Cobb, you know, and Uller. Piercing Cold increased base damage from 90 to 290, 90 to 310. Better late game. And Winter's Grasp, which is the ultimate increased physical power scaling per tick from 5 to 7.5% per tick on both Calder and Scotty Snowstorms, increased from 40 to 60% scaling per snowstorm total. Big scaling buff on Winter's Grasp there. So if you built a lot of power, you get a lot more damage. And Neath getting buffed because, like, no one likes to play this god at all in ranked or in pro. Spirit Arrow decreased cooldown from 15 to 13 to 13 at all ranks. Decreased mana cost from 60 to 80 to 40 to 60. That's a big mana decrease. Wow. Again, Guan Yu, 1 second cooldowns on reduce. Blah. Let me start that over. Cooldowns reduced by 1 second on Conviction and Warrior's Will. So they're both 13 seconds now. Set Sandstorm. This ability now reduces damage from all sources instead of just physical damage by 10%. Decreased cooldown from 16 to 15 seconds. Ares is getting buffs to make him better inside of Conquest. But the opposite is being done outside of Conquest. Shackles Revert increased god damage from 20 to 125 to 105 per stack. No Escape decreased cooldown from 100 to 90 seconds. But in non-Conquest, the ultimate cooldown has been increased again. It's now 30%. This is a typo. That the new cooldown is actually 130 seconds. Unless they're applying it from this. I don't know. I'd have to check on that. But it says from 115 to 117 seconds. That doesn't make any sense, though. Because if it was 115 at 15%, then that means it should be 130 seconds. non-conquest, but you know, because of this, I don't actually know what the intent of how this is supposed to work now. I'd have to see it. Wait, Cerberus, Spirit of Death, increased passive healing, reduction aura from 25 to 30%. Soul Expulsion, increased base damage from 60 to 220 to 80 to 240, and Stygian Torment, decreased cooldown from 100 to 90 seconds. Kumbhakarna is getting a absolutely massive buff on Sleepy. Increased health and mana he awakens with from 25 to 35%, and the cooldown on Sleepy is now gone from 240 to 180 seconds. That is a whopping full minute that he has lost on the cooldown of this. That's kind of a big deal. Like, this makes him Sleepy such high value, man. Like, damn, you might see him pick, you might actually see him with a high pick and ban rate now. And throwback, decreased cooldown from 13 scaling down from 13 down to 11 seconds at rank 5. Epic Uppercut, increased landing damage from 200 to 560 to 240 to 600. So all ranks are getting 40 additional damage. Big stuff there. Terra, Force of Nature, decreased cooldown from 13 to 11 seconds. Monolith, revert, increased amount of hits it takes to destroy Monolith from 3 to 5. Hits, increased shatter damage from 70 to 190 to 90 to 210. Sylvanas, Verdant Growth, increased root duration from 1.25 to 1.5 seconds. Nature's Grasp, decreased cooldown from 18 to 14 seconds down to 17 to 13 seconds. And then Bacchus, the Belly Flop, having mana decreased from 70 to 90 to 60 to 80. And now they're gonna experiment with buffing the duration of ability healing reduction, or these or abilities that reduce healing. Belch of the Gods had damage to lay minions from 3 to 7 per tick, so 12 to 28 total. Increased stun duration from 1 second to 1.1 to 1.5. Decreased mana cost from 70 to 90 to 60 to 80. And increase the healing reduction debuff from 4 to 5 seconds. So better in lane, better stun, more healing reduction. That's a big buff for one ability. And of course, these two down here, Sickening Strike on Sobek, 5 second healing reduction. Moonflower Dance on Chang'e, 5 seconds. Kukulkan Barb's Spear, 5 second healing reduction. And then Medusa Acid Spray, 5 second healing reduction. And then all the voice actors that contributed for the skins down here. And with that, that's going to do it for this Update Notes review. There's not a lot of god changes. There's a big buff to Kumbhakarna, and I think that's the most significant god change in this update here. Earrings getting reworked for versatility. We'll see if those will get picked up more by mages or not. Very interested to see what people are going to do with Manticore, since the damage and the duration of its effect got buffed significantly. Those are the biggest changes there. So we'll see how that plays out. Of course, again, Ishtar is coming on next Tuesday, which should be August the 23rd, right? Let me just look at that again, just so I'm sure. Yeah, August the 23rd is when she will be out. So get ready for that. Like and subscribe if you guys enjoyed this. As usual, leave a comment down below if you want, and check the helpful links down in the description. And I will see you guys next time for some more Smite. Have a good one.